Today we're making Dutch apple pie jam. It's really simple. You just take a couple of your large jars of apple butter, your flavored spiced apple butter, and a jar of your apple jelly, and a couple of shredded fresh apples. Put them all together. Add a cup and a quarter sugar and 3 tablespoons lemon juice. Don't need to add any pectin since you already have apple jelly that you added. And since it's made out of apple butter, it'll thicken up and become a jam all on its own. This is the very beginning. It's barely at a boil. It's nowhere near a jam yet. We'll come back when we're closer, because I had so many problems learning jams until I got my wonderful thermometer. And since I got my thermometer, I've started to learn how to tell when the jams and jellies are done without a thermometer. So many people out there start their jams and jellies without a thermometer. So I'm going to show you just all the stages and what they look like. Because when I first started, I had so many fails, so many that didn't thicken up because I wasn't doing it right. I was thinking and hearing people on the internet say, oh, 5-10 minutes of boiling, and then you add the pectin, and then it's good. Well, I don't use store-bought chemical pectin. I use homemade pectin. So in order to make it work, I have to boil it anywhere from 45 minutes to an hour and a half, depending upon the jams and jellies, and depending upon what they're made out of. Certain stuff boils and gets up to temperature faster than other does. Certain jams need to be at one temperature, while certain jellies need to be at a whole nother temperature. And I'll go over each of them with you as we do it. Today's apple butter, we'll get it up to around 225 to 230. And this is barely the beginning of a boil. Alright, we'll be back. Okay, our temperature is up to, let's see if it'll focus, almost 125. All that steam. I'm sorry, people. Oh, I just made it worse. I'll be back. Okay, our temperature is at about 125. And it's been 20 minutes. Make sure you stir it often. Never walk away from your jams and jellies. And remember, folks, I don't use store-bought pectin. I use homemade pectin. So I have to boil my stuff for a really long time. Now this is a boil that can technically, as you can see, be slowed down from stirring. And a lot of times, when you stir, the temperature will actually lower. So you want to stir it, wait a second, check your temperature. I'm now at 120, not 125. Very much not done. We'll be back. Alright. See how it's gotten darker? And about half of the liquid level has gone down. It's starting to get close. And we're going on 35 minutes of boiling. See what I mean, folks? When you do it the old-fashioned way, it takes a lot longer. But no chemicals, no bad stuff in your family's water. Ow! Warning, it is boiling fruits. It is very hot. We'll be back when we get closer. Alright. Alright, you see, folks? See that skin starting to form? That is proof that your jam is ready to go. This happens with your pureed fruits, your jams. You get that skin that starts to bubble and form in the middle. See that right there? Ooh, let's zoom in. And we're done. We turn it off. Now that it's turned off and it's starting to stop bubbling, you can see it. See those skins? That right there lets me know, ow, that it has formed into a jam. The temperature was 230. You want to stir it as it cools again so that you don't end up with burnt sugar crystals on the bottom. Alright, we'll be back when we start to jar it up. Okay, my jars have been washed in hot soapy water and rinsed with scalding hot water. Scalding hot water is just below boiling. That's the first sterilization cycle. Then I let them dry on their own clean separate towel. Then I bake them in the oven on 250. Now you only have to have it on 215, but I like to be safe. This is my family's health and other people's health that we're worrying about. So 250 on 25 minutes. Then I cool them with the door open for a couple of minutes so they're approximately the same temperature as my now cooled down jam, so there is no breaking of jars. The towel is stained and splattered from other cannings. Every time I can anything, even though my countertops are washed and sterilized, I always use a brand new, clean, washed and sterilized towel to do everything on top of. Again, this is your family's health and other people's health you have to worry about. Let's can it. The first couple cans are going to be small sample jars, so that you can give them out to people to sample, or when you're at a flea market, you have a couple of open jars of jams and jellies for people to try with a little piece of bread. That way they can know what they taste like, and that's what these sample jars are for. Lid. And scoop. Funnel and scoop. Then you always, even if it's jams and jellies, you never know, little bubbles can form all over the place. You always, always, always debubble. I use a little skewer, brand new skewer every time I do a new round or flavor of jams and jelly. And we'll be back.
I often make care
And we are back now.
And I don't get to see them as often as I
We've
would
debubbled,
like. So
and it's time to do the lids.
dehydrated
I always use brand new cheesecloth with every round session of canning. Again, this is your family's health and other people's health. Brand new cheesecloth. This is a bowl of half apple cider vinegar, half scalding hot water, and those are my lids to get sterilized. And you dip the cheesecloth in the vinegar water and clean the rims and threads of your jars. This gives you one more chance to inspect for any flaws or damage which could cause your jars to not seal properly or, heaven forbid. Alright, after wiping your lids and cleaning them for sterilization and inspecting them, sterile lid.
Oops.
Sometimes they stick together because of the water. Sterile lid. Ring. That's my daughter.
Hi.
Fingertip tight. And you're tightening
That's
it
good
too
enough.
much. Fingertip tight.
Mm-hmm.
Then it goes into a water bath canner, half an inch over the top, and we'll be back. And now we do one of our 12-ounce jars, the big, large jelly jars. Same way as our little jars. About a half-inch head space. Always, always, always debubble even your jams and jellies. Air is your enemy. That can lead to sickness and even in some cases death. It is dangerous. Always, always, always debubble. Cheesecloth, sterile water, apple cider vinegar water. Clean your rim and your threads. Clean sterile lid. Ring. Fingertip tight. And into a water bath canner. We'll do this with the rest of them. We'll be back. Okay, last jar. I've already cleaned it and sterilized it. Now we inspect to make sure there's no damage. Lid, ring, and into the canner. Now, this leftover apple cider vinegar water, I put it into the canner. Not only does it help with sterilization for any reason, it also helps with clouding if you live in the country and you have hard water. Or if, like me, I use reverse osmosis water in every aspect of my canning so that we do not worry about fluoride getting into our children or into the people who buy my jams and jellies, because I am GMO chemical free. Into the canner this goes. and we'll be back. Okay, all the jars are into the canner with at least a ½ inch of water above the tallest jars. Now, you see that bubbling coming out? That's good. That means that there's escaping water that was in the lid. It's starting to create its vacuum. I have it on high. We put a lid on it and we bring it to a rolling boil and we process it for 25 minutes. We'll be back. Okay, folks. That is a rolling boil. That is the processing is actually begun. You always want to check all your canning recipes with the Ball online or your Ball canning book and make sure that you have a proper time. I'm at under 1,000 feet, so my canning instructions for apple butter and apple jelly was 20 minutes. However, I like to overprocess everything. Again, this is your family's health and your customer's health. So I process for 25 minutes. And we'll be back. Alright. I got 5 jars, 3 12-ounce, 2 sample. Buttons all popped down. Now we remove the lids, the rings I mean, so that we don't end up with false seals. Now I would have showed you the end of the boiling process and pulling them out after they boil. In process, you open, turn off the water, and open the canner lid and leave the lid off for 5 minutes to allow a slight cooling down so you don't have such a shock. Hang on. Take the canner lid off, let it sit for 5 minutes so they're not a shock. Pull them out of the canner and they'll seal. You can actually see the little button pop down there. That means it's sealed properly. Now we let it sit for a couple more hours, and then we'll label them and we'll gently move them over to their cooling spot. And then they sit for 24 hours so they can set and be done. I'll show you a finished picture of the product at the end. Beautiful Dutch apple pie jam. Alright, have a good day. Bye.